Maybe just to indicate the following, as part of, as Comrade Matlenge has indicated, the initial reflections on a very robust and in-depth discussion on the South African economy, and also answering the question, what is to be done to ensure that we are able to recover the South African economy. So maybe let me start by stating the following, that the National Executive Committee, that is the NEC of the African National Congress meeting, has engaged in in-depth discussions, having received reports on the state of the South African economy. These discussions were led by the NEC Subcommittee on Economic Transformation, drawing on technical presentations, political assessment, and social realities that shape our current economic context. The NEC approached these deliberations with a clear recognition that economic recovery and transformation remain urgent national priorities. Guided by the ANC's 2024 election manifesto and the resolutions of the 55th National Conference, the NEC's considerations were underpinned by the imperative to improve the lives of all South Africans, particularly the poor and the working class. The discussions unfolded against the backdrop of a sluggish global economy, persistent domestic inequality, and the challenge of restoring public confidence in the state's ability to deliver inclusive growth. The NEC discussions reaffirmed that a sustainable and transformative economic agenda must be people-centered, developmental in character, and rooted in the values of shared prosperity, solidarity, and justice. The NEC considered a comprehensive report on macroeconomic trends and sectoral performance, noting that economic growth remains below the levels required to reduce unemployment and poverty at scale. High youth unemployment, stagnant wages, and food insecurity continue to undermine social cohesion. Load shedding, though strides to resolve it have been registered, infrastructure bottlenecks and weak logistics systems constrain productivity and investor confidence. Fiscal pressures have intensified, requiring careful balancing of debt sustainability with developmental expenditure. Whilst inflation has moderated slightly, the cost of living remains high, with transport, food, and electricity costs disproportionately affecting the poor. The NEC discussions appreciated that these challenges demand a coherent and coordinated response from the state, working closely with all social partners. The NEC discussions focus on a set of immediate and medium-term interventions aimed at addressing economic stagnation whilst advancing structural transformation. Key considerations include, amongst others, the following. The first is to rebuild the productive economy. The NEC engagement reaffirmed the centrality of industrialization, localization, and value chain development. It recognized the need to support labor-intensive sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and construction. It called for enhanced support to township and rural enterprises, cooperatives, and SMMEs as engines of inclusive growth. Secondly, the need to accelerate infrastructure investment. The NEC noted the slow pace of infrastructure rollout and urged for decisive action to unlock project pipelines, streamline procurement processes, and fast-track catalytic investments, particularly in the areas of energy, logistics, water, and sanitation. Infrastructure must serve both economic and social objectives. Thirdly, the need to promote employment and economic inclusion. Deliberations centered on the need for a renewed focus on employment creation, especially amongst young people. The NEC further discussed the need for strengthening public employment programs, expanding. The NEC considered the fiscal position of the state and emphasized that fiscal consolidation must be accompanied by improved efficiency, anti-corruption efforts, and the shift towards outcome-based budgeting. It supported efforts to increase tax compliance and eliminate wasteful expenditure. Fifthly, ensuring a just energy transition. The ANC reaffirmed that South Africa's transition to a low-carbon economy must be just, equitable, and developmental. It cautioned against foreign-driven transitions that displace workers or undermine national sovereignty. Support for Eskom's restructuring must go hand in hand with community participation and local industrial benefits. Number 6, transforming ownership and access to economic assets. The NEC stressed the importance of broad-based black economic empowerment, gender-responsive procurement, and land reform. Economic transformation must meaningfully change ownership patterns in favor of the historically excluded. Redistribution of land and support for emerging black farmers remains a critical policy focus. Number 7 of the immediate intervention is about restoring the role and capacity of the state. The meeting underscored the importance of a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Rebuilding public institutions, tackling poverty, and strengthening state-owned enterprises are prerequisites for sustained economic recovery. The role of the state must be proactive, not passive, in driving transformation. Again, the NEC makes the point that as a leader in the government of national unity, GNU in short, the deliberations affirm that economic transformation is grounded in principles of social justice, democratic accountability, and inclusive governance. The meeting emphasized that the ANC will engage constructively within the GNU to ensure that national priorities reflect the will and interests of the majority. It also engaged on the intensification of political oversight over the implementation of economic programs at all levels of government, including municipalities, and to strengthen coordination between ANC deployees and alliance partners. In conclusion, the NEC reaffirmed that the ANC remains committed to building a people's economy, an economy that prioritizes human dignity over profit, that uplifts and the marginalized, and that empowers communities to participate meaningfully in their own development. The NEC discussed the need for the Subcommittee on Economic Transformation to refine proposals into an integrated program of action which will be communicated to the public. The meeting further called on all South Africans, workers, business people, academics, youth, and rural communities to play an active role in rebuilding the economy. We remain guided by the principle that South Africa belongs to all who live in it and that the fruits of our economy must be shared by all. Thanks, Jacob.